today we have this Wildcat for the review. Hello and welcome to AccentOnCars. In today's episode we have a beautiful aggressive cat, this 2019 Jaguar F-Pace 30T Prestige, and I'm very excited to review this car. It's a car of one of the reviewers of the channel who generously provided his car for the review. And if you want me to review your own cool car, shoot me an email and you could be in the video yourself too. Anyway, let's get started with the Jaguar 2019 F-Pace, and it is Jaguar's first ever SUV. The car came out, I believe, in 2015 or 2016, and it's selling quite well. Why is it selling so well? Who this car is for? The technical characteristics, reliability issues, all of that is coming up next, so make sure you watch till the end. It's going to be a little longer but full kind of review. Who is this car for? Let's start with that question first. I think Jaguar is for those who's looking for European, stylish, luxury, sporty SUV, but they don't want to be like just one in a crowd, meaning they don't want an Audi, they don't want a Mercedes, they don't even want a BMW because there are too many of those on the road. Jaguar is still somewhat rare on the road, and it still turns heads. It's very stylish. So it's for those people who are looking for something a little special and aggressive. I think it comes in like 7 trim levels and 4 engine types. This particular one is 30T. The regular 4-cylinder is 25T. It has 200-ish horsepower. This one has 296 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. In terms of design, they nailed it. It doesn't look like anything else. It looks like your traditional Jaguar. The shapes of it, the design, the headlights, the aggressiveness. I love the design. I don't know, maybe like there's somebody out there who doesn't love the design, but I'll take this design over Q5 all day long. Porsche Macan, yes, Macan has its own like very distinct design as well, and I love Macans, and I love this one as well. But Audi Q5, which is this competitor, is too diluted, if you will, if that makes sense. So aggressive lines, characteristics for Jaguar, and kind of like the car is really wide on the below, and then towards the top it's a little narrow, and it's also like narrowish towards the bottom, especially from the rear end. When you look at it, it has this like bubbly shape, and the tires kind of like stick out. It looks so aggressive and dynamic. I love it. We have a Jaguar badge over here, Jaguar door seals. The rims, I believe you could get this like even like with 21 inch. I would go maybe like up to 20, but no more than that. This particular one is 19-inch rims, and because of this like wide sidewall on the wheel, the car is actually quite comfortable over the potholes. So up front we have 255, 55, 19. On the backs we have 255, 55, 19. The same thing, so the same with tires, and it's a wide tire, so the grip is not an issue. And the car by default is like rear wheel drive. It's rear wheel biased, and as it sees fit, as the depending on the condition and when you accelerate, it can send the power to the front, making it an all-wheel drive, which is good for all year round driving. But I like the fact that by default it's rear wheel bias, not the front wheel like most other SUVs are. Yeah, one thing I also do like is the fact that how the exhausts are kind of like incorporated into the bumper, and they're like sitting higher. In SVR version, which is the supercharged V8, you get like dual exhaust tips, and they look amazing too. But even for a 4-cylinder, I like the fact that there are like 2 exhaust tips, and they're real, unlike Audi Q5. I hate fake exhaust tips that have become a norm somehow. The design, the rear end, sloped roof, the rear glass is kind of like, looks small, but from the inside of the car, the visibility is good. You have no issue seeing what's going on behind you. Has a very crisp backup camera. The spoiler, look at the width of it. It's a really wide spoiler. I know, if you can call this car ugly, you've got no taste. Well, I'm kidding, it's subjective, but I love it. You know, there's a lot of space in here, and you know, I have my camera and gear and backpacks there, but there are some 12 volt for charging your accessories. There are hooks on the side for you know, hanging your cargo. The rear seats are foldable, obviously making it very practical as well. And just like, see how fast the trunk lid goes down. So it's definitely not the fastest, but I wouldn't call it slow either. Interiors with Jaguar doesn't look quite as exclusive as it does in the exterior. It's a beautiful place to be, don't get me wrong. It just doesn't feel that exclusive. The doors are beautiful. The steering wheel, all this like controls for turning on your lights or turning on the wipers, they look like they're from a Mercedes, honestly. The steering wheel, also Mercedes BMW-ish in terms of design. Then the center console is a little Audi. Infotainment and the font are very Audi, so it feels a little Frankenstein of all. I am 5.8 or 5.9, and I'm sitting behind myself comfortably. There's a lot of space for your legs. There's a lot of space for your toes. The seat itself is a little short, and it doesn't provide as much of a leg support as you wish. There's this gigantic panoramic sunroof, which is quite awesome. So yeah, this particular car has a dual tone interior. Looks amazing. This brown and like this, I don't know, what is it, mocha, chocolate, whatever it's like, it is like coffee and cream. Looks amazing. Soft plastic everywhere. Things that you touch. I don't think this is a real leather, but it feels really good. And the rear seats, like I said, they're like soft and nice. One thing I don't like about the rear seat cushion is that it's too flat and doesn't provide much of a side support. So if the driver's going fast, you're gonna slide around. Over here we have a power outlet and 2 USB. This particular version doesn't have 4-zone climate control. Not sure if that was an option in Jaguars at all or not. Let me know if you guys know who invented this kind of gearbox first. Was it Ford or was it Jaguar? But I think a lot of Fords have it. And Acuras nowadays even have like just the buttons, like series of buttons. I'm not really sure. I don't like it. Look at this. Look at the placement of the window controls. So British, so Jaguar-y. I like Alcantara headliner. It is good to see that usually like Audi or Mercedes will give you Alcantara only in like their AMG or S models. This is a prestige model and has Alcantara. Not that it matters because you're never gonna touch the ceiling, but it looks cool and it also provides a better noise isolation. The car comes standard with collision prevention and parktronics. Big thumbs up to Jaguar for that, but doesn't have blind spot monitoring system. Yeah, like I said, I like everything about this interior, but I don't like, I mean, I like the interior overall and I don't like the design of it, but it doesn't feel quite as exclusive as it does from the outside, you know. The steering wheel is a little shifted towards the passenger. I wish it was a little to the left, so your hands are kind of like shifted to the right. If you have paddle shifters, they're unfortunately plastic. They're not like brushed metal. They could have been. It's good to have them, especially with this rotary gearbox. You wouldn't have other way of changing manually, I think. Let's listen to the horn. This car is, you know, still new. It's 2019 model, so it's early to talk about the issues. But as we know, Jaguars and Land Rovers, like British cars for that matter, have not been that reliable in the past. And Range Rover owners, especially the V8 owners, know this joke. It's basically they're waiting when their cars are gonna catch up on the fire. early models of these cars had issues, but most reliability or issues reported by owners were associated with the infotainment. It would freeze quite a lot. Mostly the software related issues that got fixed in later years by the software updates by the dealers. And there were also issues associated with suspension clunking and creaking that also got addressed and fixed in later years, like this one by the manufacturer. So there haven't been too many issues associated with the engines yet. I mean, hopefully it's gonna stay the same, but we will see. One more thing which I don't like is that the buckle for the seat belt, it's too low, and it's kind of like too low over there, and it's hard to reach. So when I grab it and I try to put it, my hand hits this like armrest, and I have to kind of like squeeze my hand in there. It's almost like scratching your back. So in terms of like infotainment, one thing that is really awesome about this car, guys, is that there's so much customization. Like the menu is a little, text heavy. Upon first glance, I'm not sure. I like how much text there is. Looking down, and there's like so much written. I'm like, oh, what is happening? What is my speed? Oh, my speed is 32, and there's like tons of warnings and stuff. Oh, we are just sending it off the street light. There was a little turbo lag right there, but it kept going pretty quickly. So far, I feel like I'm sitting really high. The car feels taller than it is. Now that is probably a good thing for most people and not so good for others, depending on what you like. I'm not saying it's a small car. It's a big car, but it feels even taller than this. I feel like I'm driving ML or GLE. But I like the fact that the dashboard is kind of like low, and I can see the profile of the hood. It helps me to understand where the car is at any given moment. Roads over here are not great in Massachusetts, and I am feeling a lot of bumpiness from the suspension. Suspension does a great job in terms of like smoothing out the potholes and the bridge connections, but there's a lot of body roll. I'm like feeling like I'm in a boat. So there's dynamic, there's normal, there's eco, there's rain, ice, and snow. What I find interesting is that in most cars, you kind of like have to, turn a knob or, have to like keep pushing the same button in order to change between the drive modes. In this one, there are like arrows, like you have to keep clicking left in order to get to the most aggressive dynamic drive mode, and keep clicking right in order to get to the snow version. In terms of seats, I'm missing seat extension. Let me know in the comments if any of the trim levels have that option. This particular one doesn't, and I wish it did, because it's one of the things that I appreciate the most in the cars. Seats, like I said earlier, I think like most people will be able to find a comfortable sitting position in this car for themselves. However, if you are a bigger person, it might be the seats might seem a little too narrow, especially the bottom cushion. I feel so high in this car. Not high, I feel like I'm sitting so high in this car. Honestly, like there's an Explorer next to me, and I feel like I'm sitting at the same height as that guy. Personally, I'm not an SUV person, but if you are buying an SUV, then you are an SUV person, and you would appreciate that. You would appreciate sitting higher. So let's... Yep. When you push it, there is a light turbo lag, a little bit, nothing too bad, and then it just gets going, man. It just gets going. It's exciting. It's exciting. So suspension is good on a higher speeds. It feels more sporty on higher speeds. In the city, it's a little bumpy, and yet, like thanks to like larger sidewall and smaller rims, it's not harsh. It doesn't like come through and doesn't try to send your spine through your skull. But it's a little, there, like I said earlier, there is a little like body motion. You feel like you're in a boat. At a higher speed, let's see. Yep, there were like a bunch of patches and potholes out there. I kind of like glided over them. As I go through this turn, there is definitely a body roll. So the navigation is really hard to understand. This navigation, luckily there's the Android Auto and the Apple CarPlay, and that is the best thing you could have in this car, because this navigation, man, it sucks. Sorry to say that, but it is not intuitive when it's time to turn left or time to turn right. I just missed the turn right there because it was showing that the turn was far away when in fact it was time to turn. So body roll is something noticeable. You know, you definitely notice the body roll. There's a cop, so let's drive a little slow over here. Whew. I was about to floor it over there. I'm so glad I didn't floor it because there's a cop. There's one more cop over here. What's happening? So many cops today. Interesting. But overall, I got in this car and I'm driving it the first time ever, and I feel like, you know, I feel the car, and we have a rapport and understanding over here. I don't even need like much time to get adjusted to it or to get to know it. It's a compliment. Suspension in terms of comfort in the city gets probably like 6 out of 10. In terms of body roll, it gets 5 out of 10. And maybe I'm spoiled a little because I'm comparing it with Porsche Macan, for example. Macan, even in a regular one, not in S or not in a Turbo S version, feels much more flat around the corners. Engine stop and start stop is available. It helps you to save on the gas. I don't like it. I would most of the time turn it off. AC is good. It is not loud. It's pretty quiet. I like it. And I like the fact that the side vents are kind of like low. You know how in most cars the side vents are so high that it constantly blows on your face regardless of how much you adjust the flaps. In this one, they are sitting low, and it's great because you can have air on your side refreshed without getting like blown on the face. Man, I also love the fact that the window controls are over here up from the door trim. It is very unusual, like almost nobody does it. Other manufacturers usually put the like memory feature or side mirror adjustment controls over here, and the windows are over here on the door handle. In this one, that's not the case. It's the opposite. I think they must have done it on purpose to be a little quirky, and it works. The steering wheel, definitely on the lighter side, yet precise. For me, it's not annoyingly light. It's not vague. Yeah, there's a like numb or dead area around the center, around the zero. Like I said, it's a little on the lighter side, yet precise. One thing I want to say about the infotainment is that I don't like overall colors and overall like the theme of it in terms from the user experience perspective. Most European cars nowadays, Mercedes, Audi, they use black backdrop, like black colors for the background, and they use like very sharp and crisp icons for the menu items, and that it creates that like iPhone, smartphone experience. This one, there's like tons of white and blue in here. It looks like to me it looks like a Microsoft phone, Microsoft Windows phone. So we are on a highway. Let's put it back in dynamic. The transmission is superb. It is so quick. It's really quick and it's really responsive. It holds the road really well. It does. It really holds the road really well. And you feel comfortable going at a higher speed. You feel comfortable changing lanes at higher speed. The steering has become even heavier and tighter. So can't say anything negative about going at higher speeds. 85, flooring it. Yep. There's so much drama. It feels faster than it actually goes. I just floored it. It dropped like at least 3 gears, and you could hear the engine noise. The engine noise is very pleasant to listen. Quite honestly, for a 4-cylinder car, it doesn't sound as horrible as it does in new Mercedes cars. I hate to say it as a Mercedes guy, but if you haven't seen my review of a 2020 GLB, go check it out. It's gonna pop up on the screen, and it also gonna be in the description. In a nutshell, newer 4-cylinder Mercedes engines sound like a crap. They sound like a diesel from 90s. The engine in this one sounds awesome. I love it. I mean, it doesn't sound like V6 or V8, but for 4-cylinder, it's pretty good. But the best sound in the class or in the world for 4-cylinder comes from new Alfa Romeos, whether that's the Stelvio or Giulia. And that car also has the best, the most responsive steering in the world, guys. I drove it recently. I was blown away how sharp it was. It's hard to drive this thing slow on a highway. In the city it was bumpy, but on the highway, man, it's a pleasant experience. I like how much tighter the steering has become right now. And there is still a body roll when you try to change the lane fast, but it kinda like there's a body roll, but then it straightens itself up on the road, and it just stays flat, and doesn't make you feel uncomfortable doing that, so yeah. Hopefully you could see it. I just changed the lane really rapidly, and it's awesome. Brakes are linear. I like that as soon as I touch them they react, and it's easy to modulate them. So let me try to brake a little aggressively. Yeah, brakes are definitely easy to modulate. I felt enough braking power. The brakes are good. And that's something that you don't get in one of its competitors, which is Audi Q5. In almost all Audi, Volkswagen cars, it's not easy to modulate the brakes. You push them, there's like a lot of travel in the pedal, nothing happens. That's not the case here. And I like the fact that the pedals are traditional, like in European manner, they're like mounted on the floor. Yeah, you can send this car around the corner. You feel the weight of the car. I know it's not that heavy of an SUV comparing to some of its competitors. Most competitors are over 4,000 pounds. This one is like 3,800 pounds or something like that. But it feels a little heavy, mostly thanks to the suspension. I definitely think that the suspension in this one should be either like adjustable or should be a little stiffer. Now, you don't want to sacrifice the comfort. Yeah, I think they should have made it adjustable. Otherwise, because of the body roll, it feels a little heavy. The car produces 296 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque, and you feel that. And you feel that in a linear way. Something that I like about this 4-cylinder is that the more it revs, the more power and torque comes. It creates that illusion that you are driving a naturally aspirated engine. You can't have enough power and enough horsepower. Yep. Man, it goes. Yes. Hopefully you could hear the engine as well. Like I said, the higher you rev it, the faster it goes. The engine is very linear. Big thumbs up for the engine to Jaguar. And for a 4-cylinder, it is awesome. I can't actually wait now to drive the SVR version. For this engine, for this much horsepower, it is very exciting. I would give it 9 points out of 10 or 10 out of 10 for a 4-cylinder turbo engine. In conclusion, guys, I've been driving this car for almost whole day now. It's so dynamic. It surprised me in so many ways. The transmission, fantastic. Engine for 4-cylinder, fantastic. It feels like a good V6, good old V6. Power, delivered smoothly, linearly. The more you rev, the faster it goes. Acceleration, you saw the numbers. For a 4-cylinder, For a car that weighs this much and for only 300 horsepower, it is amazing. I know it sounds crazy to say only 300, but by nowadays standards, 300 isn't that much. Suspension, awesome, amazing on highway, not so good in the city because it's a little bumpy. Steering wheel on a lighter side in the city, yet precise. On the highway becomes heavier and very precise. So much more fun to drive this one than Mercedes GLC and Audi Q5. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every like, every subscription, every sharing. That helps the channel a lot, and I'll see you in the future episodes. Bye now.